it down!
All right, so we get Zach and Scotty here because Zach was looking at some comments on the Facebook page.
Don't behave.
And was a little concerned that some people were not quite getting the message that we're trying to transmit as well as they could be. So remind me of, so I think the conversation was around like what kind of snacks you need to lose weight or something like that,
Something
right?
like, yeah, I don't remember all the details, and it's not just our Facebook page by any means. It's the world. It's the medical community. It's on Instagram. It's Slim Fast. It's damn near everybody. And the message is, at least implicitly, that the world wants you to believe that somehow your self-worth, your capability and who you are is somehow determined by your mass, right? By the number that you see when you step on the scale. And so the thing I guess that really kind of concerned me is twofold, really. One, that we think in general that's just a bad outlook to have on life. Not bad per se, but just misguided and maybe not as, doesn't show the deep understanding of fitness and capability that we pride ourselves on here at the gym. So I wanted to look at it from that regard, but importantly, I also wanted to look at it from the regard of people's goals. We're big on setting goals here, and we're big on meeting those goals and celebrating when we do. And frequently, probably, if not the number one goal, one of the top goals that we hear is, I want to lose weight. And so, and I said that myself many times over the years, especially when I was younger. And when I had a conversation with Jase when I first came to the gym, he said, you don't really care what you weigh. It wouldn't matter if you got on the scale and it said 300 pounds if you looked like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, right? And so that was kind of a driving point to me where I thought, he's right. What,
provided you can lift 300 pounds above your head as well.
Yeah, you did it, yeah.
So there's a corresponding capacity increase that you've got to have that negates the physics of just being heavy.
Sure. So what I hope to at least inspire and at least bring into the discussion for everybody at the gym is a shift away from I want to lose weight and a shift towards I want to improve my body composition and I want to improve my capability. So that's really what I think that what sparked my interest in the Facebook post that I was reading.
And so you two recently, and so I think three of us recently have lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
One of us in the bad way that we want to avoid other people repeating, which isn't just the reduction of mass,
right,
while sitting on your ass and doing nothing but, thank you, doing almost no exercise because you've got other stuff to do, which is what's been my case. And it's not that hasn't been, there isn't health benefits to that, because just reduction of mass is a health benefit for all kinds of reasons. It generally correlates highly with reduction in visceral fat. It generally correlates highly with improvements in blood pressure and this kind in general. Mm-hmm. But you can still be thin and light and have metabolic syndrome.
Yeah, very true.
Right? In fact, the best thing that can happen to you if you have metabolic syndrome is that you become obese. It is the best outcome for a toxic food source. But you guys, so Zach, how much have you lost over the last 12 weeks?
Yeah, so when I started, when I first came back to the gym I think it was the end of January, thereabouts, I weighed 248 pounds. My body fat percentage, which we got from our in-body scanner, was right around, I want to say like 36 to 38 range. It was unhealthy. It was bad. 2018 was a really hard year for me, and I had a lot of issues with metabolic stuff, as well as just other things going on in my life. So I wound up between 2017 and the beginning of 2019, I gained about 50 pounds, and it was damn near all fat mass. The biggest biggest takeaway from this last challenge has not been so much a reduction in my weight. I only lost 8 pounds overall total. So if I had just gotten on a scale from then to now, I would have only seen a reduction in 8 pounds overall body weight. But the deeper story that the in-body scanner tells us is I've actually lost almost 25 pounds of fat mass now, pretty close to it. And I've gained a lot of water weight, which we know is associated with the kinds of exercise that we do here in the gym. And then I've gained about, I think, six or 7 pounds of just dry, lean muscle mass, which is another myth that we have busted, right? The constant, the kind of narrative out in the fitness community is that you can't lose weight, or you can't lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. We know that that is patently false, which I just proved over the last 12 weeks. And even more importantly, I did it with never being hungry. I did it by eating a ton of high quality food and just cutting out the stuff that we know is bad for us, right? So all your extra sugar, your junk food, your fast food, all that stuff that people sell us, we don't really need it. Our body doesn't want it. So just following the basic death-proof prescription of lean meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, a little fruit, a little starch, and no added sugar. And I've seen a reduction of my body fat down to about 25% right now, which is still a little high. It's higher than what it will be once I get back to my baseline fitness level. But a pretty significant reduction overall, about 13%.
Awesome. So Scotty, your starting point was, so you were awkward as fuck right from the get-go, right? So you were hovering at about 165, 170, something like that for the longest time.
12 weeks ago, I was 170, but I got to a point where 162, 163, I got stuck there for weeks. And then just one day, I dropped 5 pounds at the drop of a hat. Biggest piece of advice I can give, if you got a scale, lose the son of a bitch. Because what you're going to find is every day you're going to be on it, and you're either going to be discouraged, why isn't this working, or you're going to say, hey, I lost a pound here. But your weight is like a roller coaster. It goes up and down, up and down. What you should be more focused on is how you feel health-wise and what you have accomplished and are able to do compared to what you were not able to do last week.
So a really good example of this, right? So being at pull-ups and bar muscle-ups, work on the bar overhead, right, is something that people hold to be a great achievement. And you said that your weight will go up and down. Do you find that and just the physics of a bar muscle up or a pull-up is if you are lighter, it takes less work.
Right.
Less power output is required to be expended. Do you find that with the oscillation of your weight, as it goes up 3 or 4 pounds, comes down 3 or 4 pounds, that your ability to do those overhead movements is directly affected? Like you get a little heavier and all of a sudden your pull-ups are much more difficult? Or do you find that you just like bang out the same exercises regardless of the fact that your weight is fluctuating?
I mean, I can do the same exercises. It really comes down more to technique. I mean, once you start to develop the technique to do it, everything becomes easier. And as long as you're eating right, eating healthy, yeah, if you become lighter, it becomes easier, but it's pretty much learning the mechanics. You learn the mechanics,
Right.
You're going to be able to do it.
So if you're a cyclist and you weigh 200 pounds and you're expecting that by if you lose 70 pounds, get down to 130, that you're now going to be the best cyclist in town, you're going to be the local hammer, you probably misplaced your confidence there. You have still got to be an awesome cyclist, right? So concentrating on your performance would be far better than again, focusing on losing weight. I found that really effective ways of losing weight. Amputation is a phenomenal one.
Yes.
Right? If you cut, especially if you cut the center section out, because the ass weighs a lot, right? So if you just cut yourself at the sternum and the top of the knees, you'll lose a lot of weight. Not so effective when you've got to translate that into run technique.
The other thing is, for people that watch your BMI, that is low as shit. I'm 150 pounds, and I am, according to my BMI, I am severely obese. I am at 27.
Well, it's not severely obese, right?
Well,
That's overweight,
Yes.
right? Obesity
Yeah. It's what, 30?
is pitched to start at, a much better. So BMI is an awesome number if you're an insurance actuary. It just doesn't have any place in.
If you're a researcher,
In
a statistician,
medical.
it's an easy number to come up with. It's easy to calculate that number and then compare it against health outcomes, and that's really, I think.
Well, it is,
you
but
know,
that's
it
probably.
doesn't mean it's good.
That's probably
It's just
because the
easy.
two numbers it contains is your weight and your height.
Right. Yeah.
And if you did it, it's like, interestingly, not only does height and weight correspond to these diseases, but also BMI does as well.
Right.
It's like, well, of course
Yeah.
it does, you moron. You're multiplying two numbers
Yeah.
together, you're going to get the same correlation. There's no insight in that. And what we're demonstrating is that measures of health, however you take those measures, are independent of BMI.
The way I see measuring your health is how you feel and what your abilities are as far as doing daily tasks, and what you set your goals to be able to do
Right.
are. That's
that's
how
a
you
really
measure your
important
health.
point.
It's essentially the integral of work capacity over your entire life, right? So, Scotty, as your weight has come down, tell us about what's happened to your visceral fat.
12 weeks ago, my visceral fat was 6, and I've dropped 20 pounds, and now my visceral fat is 2.
Right. Which indicates to me that you're not eating enough donuts or drinking enough.
Right.
No, I'm not
Giving
drinking
up
enough beer.
alcohol.
Yeah, that's pretty good. 2 is the lowest that we've seen. We've never seen a 1. We've only seen 2 2s. We've got a couple of 3s. I think Dree runs around a 3 or a 4. Usually, I'm running around a 6, which, given the amount that I drink, is nothing short of incredible. But that's the first indicator to me that people's health is improving, in terms of their health being the absence of disease, which is not a good definition, but your ability to ward off disease is certainly an important part of your health.
I think it definitely is a huge reduction in risk for
Right.
the things that kill people in America
Right.
frequently.
Yeah.
So your
And-
metabolic
and-
syndrome, your hypertension, your diabetes.
And not just health risk, financial risk.
Yeah.
Because the chronic treatments of those kinds of diseases associated with metabolic syndrome are enormously expensive. Right?
Yeah.
Insulin costs a fortune. It's
Kidney
just
failure, dialysis.
it costs a lot of money to be in bad condition,
Mhm.
right?
That's
So,
true.
We've got a $1 trillion problem in the U.S. right now, which almost entirely can be researched back to almost entirely to abuse of sugar. Yeah. So sugar's legal. You can buy it anywhere. Just don't have it.
Yep.
That's the simple part.
And it's getting fit and healthy is not what you plan to do. It's what you are willing to give up to become what you want. So
So that seems like that, right? But I would say my experience is the opposite.
okay.
For me to become unhealthy would have been to give up horse riding, snowboarding, base jumping, rock climbing. I mean, all of these things, all these incredible experiences that I remember have all been because of physicality. I mean, just so many of them have been because of physical capacity, abilities, and you feel like you're giving something up. It's like, I'm not going to do this because I've got to go to the gym, right?
Well,
it's like you can watch Game of Thrones on your deathbed,
Right.
right? Don't not go out on your mountain bike tonight because you're waiting in for Game of Thrones. They all die in the end, so spoiler alert.
I think what he just said though brings up the value of perspective, right? So he said essentially what you're willing to give up, and you've said essentially what you're willing to gain,
Right.
right? And so it's two sides of the exact same coin. You're talking about it the same thing. It's just
It is,
from a different
so
perspective.
it speaks
Yeah.
a different perspective, different value system.
Yeah, sure. And
And-
different motivational.
And here's the
system,
thing,
right?
so values are their opinions. They're neither right nor they're wrong,
Yep.
right? Except for this one. Because if you don't believe that being alive is a good thing, then what's the point?
Yeah.
But I mean, When I say give up, I mean, okay, you got
Well, it's more like what habits are you willing to change?
Yes.
Right? How are you willing to adapt? So yeah, you haven't misspoken. What you said is true. It's just a different perspective.
So I'm willing to give up pop, sugar, this and that. And in return for giving that stuff up, I can now feel better.
Bar muscle up.
Yeah, bar muscle up. Still gotta get ring muscle ups better, but I guess it's not really give up. It's more of a trade system. I'm willing to trade all this stuff to be able to do.
I don't agree with that, man. So the reason I don't agree is, in your condition, with all the capacities you have, you can still watch Game of Thrones,
Never seen it.
where they all die in the end. Spoiler alert. So, but you can, right? There's nothing that you're giving up. You're investing some of the time in the immediate to be able to get these extra capacities, which then gives you the ability to go back and do all the shit that you were essentially missing out on while you were at the gym. So it's I don't see that.
You change the order you're
just
receiving
change
it
the
in,
order
right?
you're receiving it.
That's another. I mean, it's a different perspective. But
Yeah. I don't know. It's just to me, it's like it's kind of cool to. So I mean, you know these standard rules we have at the gym, right? So one of them is you're not allowed to come in here and whine about your lack of capacity as a result of your age if you're younger than I am. It's like it's fundamentally unacceptable for anyone who's under 50 to complain that they're so old and beaten down by life that they're never ever going to get fit. That's like bullshit, man.
Look at Larry. He's what? How old? And he been playing one damn
Yeah,
bit.
Larry's like he's about 120.
He comes in here and kicks ass every time he's here.
Yeah, yeah, and he's still got a good golf shot.
Don's what? He's close to 70. Is he 70 yet?
Getting on that way, he's mid-60s. Yeah,
Mid-60s. Okay.
yeah, and I'm still a
And
monster.
It still outperforms many people who are significantly younger than him.
Right. Yeah, there's no reason for it. Anyway, okay, that'll do for right now before we bore people to death. Cheers.
Game of Thrones. Everybody dies.